The sound of her laughter still carries in my head. Not the warm, friendly laugh I felt for years ago, but the sharp, teasing kind. I never imagined I would be riding in the passenger seat of our sport utility vehicle while we headed to a couple's retreat that cost 3 months of savings. We signed up because I could not remember the last time we spoke without me ending up feeling small. For the past 2 years, arguments have been our routine. Small disagreements would build until Emily picked apart everything about me, my work choices, my body, and lately, the most private parts of who I am as a man. It started as quiet digs, and then it became public and embarrassing. Last month at her company dinner, she cracked a joke about my supposed failures, and her coworkers spent the rest of the evening avoiding my eyes. When I told her it hurt, she said I was too sensitive. She told me it was only a joke and asked if I did not have thicker skin. My chest said otherwise. Each comment took another slice out of my confidence. The person Emily married, ambitious, sure of himself, driven, was fading, replaced by a man who second-guessed every choice and every word. The global positioning system chimed that our exit was near. The place sat up in the mountains, a 3-hour drive from the suburban life we built. The brochure promised big changes and a reset of intimacy through new therapy methods. I did not know what to expect, but I knew something had to give. "Did you remember my hiking boots?" Emily asked, breaking the tight silence that had followed us since our argument that morning about leaving late. "They are in the blue duffel," I said, keeping my eyes on the winding road. I had checked everything 3 times before packing the car, because forgetting anything would become evidence against me. The retreat came into view as we rounded a bend. A wide wooden lodge stood there with floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting tall pines. A few couples were unloading their bags. Some laughed together. Others kept a careful distance, the same stale air I felt sitting beside Emily. "It is definitely out in the middle of nowhere," she said. "A whole week stuck here. I hope you are ready to actually take part this time." I swallowed the response that jumped into my throat. Our therapist had told me to choose my battles. This was my last attempt to save what we had left. 7 days of intensive couples therapy, outdoor activities, and structured talks designed to rebuild closeness. A knot tightened in my stomach when I pictured being mocked in front of strangers. As we pulled into a parking spot, I noticed a woman greeting new arrivals. Something about her presence, steady and warm at the same time, caught my eye. She moved easily among the guests, a clipboard tucked under one arm, offering firm handshakes and real smiles. "That must be the lead therapist," I said, mostly to myself. "Let us hope she is better than the last one, who could not see how unreasonable you were about everything," Emily said. I took a long breath and switched off the engine. Mountain air filled my lungs. It was crisp and clean and woke me up from the inside. For a moment, I let myself hope that this place, this week, and these professionals might help us find our way back to each other, or at least help me find my way back to myself. The therapist turned as we walked up. Her eyes were sharp and kind, and they met mine like she was already listening. She reached out her hand. "Welcome to New Beginnings Retreat," she said. "I am Dr. Olivia Harper, the Senior Relationship Counselor. You must be the couple from Registration Group C." Emily stepped forward with the charm she saves for people who matter. "Yes, that is us. We have heard wonderful things about your program." Dr. Harper's gaze rested on me a heartbeat longer than seemed normal, like she had already noticed something important in the way we moved around each other. I wondered what she saw. Just another marriage slipping away, or something about the power between us that needed a name. "The welcome session starts in 30 minutes in the main hall, Dr. Harper said, her voice calm but authoritative. "Until then, please settle into your cabin. Your information packets are inside." As we headed toward our cabin, I glanced back and saw her watching us and making notes on her clipboard. Her attention made me nervous and, at the same time, strangely relieved. Someone was finally looking closely at what was really going on. I hoped I was ready for whatever truth would show up this week. The main hall hummed with uneasy energy. 12 couples sat in a circle of cushioned chairs. Our welcome packets held the week's schedule, the ground rules, and a set of questionnaires we would fill out during our stay. My name is Jake Miller, by the way. I tell you this now because, as I took my seat and opened the packet, I realized I needed to remind myself who I am. I flipped through the packet while my wife, Emily, chatted with the couple beside us. He looked like a polished business executive. He said his name was Mark. His partner, Sophie, was much younger and looked just as uneasy as I felt. "Let us begin with introductions," the lead therapist said, and everyone settled down right away. "I will guide your work this week along with my colleagues." She motioned toward two other professionals across the circle. "Our aim is not to fix anyone. Our aim is to make room for honest talk and to help you find connection again." As each pair spoke, I noticed patterns. A few couples tried so hard to look perfect that it came off like a show. Some could not get through one sentence without snapping at each other. Others looked worn down and kept their eyes on the carpet. I tried to figure out where Emily and I fit on that line from forced smiles to open warfare to quiet defeat. When it was our turn, Emily squeezed my hand. It was a public bit of affection that felt strange after months of cold space. "We have been married for 7 years," she said with that smooth charm she uses when there is an audience. "We are here because we lost our spark and need to reconnect." Her neat version of our mess made me shift in my seat. The lead therapist, Dr. Olivia Harper, met my eyes like she could hear what had been left out. "What are you hoping to gain from this week, specifically?" she asked me. Before I could speak, Emily jumped in. "He needs to find his confidence again. He has become so passive. It affects everything." She gave a light laugh. "Sometimes I feel like I married a lion and now I live with a house cat." A few men chuckled in that uneasy way men do when they are not sure where to look. Their partners shot them quick side glances. I felt heat rise up my neck as that old shame rolled through me. "I would still like to hear from you," Dr. Harper said, keeping her eyes on me. I cleared my throat. "I want to learn how to be heard," I said. The words surprised me with how plain they were. "That is a good place to begin," she said. The first exercise sent us into separate rooms. The men went with the male counselor, a calm guy named Tom Reed. The women went with the female assistant, a steady woman named Ava Brooks. Dr. Harper moved between the groups and listened more than she talked. In our circle, the men started slow and then began to speak up. What they said sounded a lot like my own list. Feeling overlooked, feeling misunderstood, feeling less like a man in their own homes. "Society tells us to open up," one guy said, bitter and tired. "Then it punishes us when we do." A low wave of agreement moved through the room. When Dr. Harper stepped into our session, the mood shifted. She leaned against the wall, arms relaxed, eyes sharp, and listened to each man finish his thought without jumping in. When it was my turn, I talked about the constant criticism. I left out the most personal parts because I did not want to hand that over to a room full of strangers on the first night. "It sounds like your sense of worth is tied to your partner's approval," she said. "Is that not normal in a marriage?" I asked. "Interdependence is healthy," she said. "Emotional submission is not. Your value exists whether or not she sees it." The words landed hard and clean. When we all came back together for dinner, the room felt different. A few couples sat closer than before. A few kept a careful gap between their chairs, as if moving too close might set off a tripwire. Emily was quiet. She pushed her salmon around the plate and did not look at me much. "What did your group talk about?" I asked, trying to start something that was not a fight. "Nothing important," she said. "We just vented about annoying husband habits." She smiled, but it stopped at her mouth and did not touch her eyes. "What about you? Did you all complain about your demanding wives?" "We talked about patterns," I said. "How to speak without judging." She gave a short snort. "Did they give you a backbone implant while they were at it?" I set my fork down. I felt suddenly worn out. "I am trying," I said. "This whole trip was my idea. Remember?" "Yes," she said. "Another expensive fix. Instead of just being the man I married." Dr. Harper walked by right then. She did not break stride, but I could tell she heard it. "How is dinner, folks?" she asked the whole room. A quick reminder. We will start the evening visualization exercise at 8 o'clock. After she moved on, Emily leaned closer and lowered her voice. "She seems very interested in our table." "She is doing her job," I said. I had noticed it too. With us, she watched a little longer, like she was trying to read a small print note at the bottom of a contract. That night's exercise asked us to write letters to our younger selves at the start of our relationships. I wrote to the man I used to be. I warned him about how slow erosion feels like nothing at first. I told him where the ground gives way. I felt Dr. Harper standing behind my chair. She leaned down a little and read a few lines over my shoulder. "Interesting insight," she said softly. "Tomorrow, let us set up an individual session. Sometimes we need to understand our own story before anyone else can understand us." I nodded. The suggestion surprised me, and so did the small spark it lit in my chest. For the first time since we arrived, I felt something other than resignation. I felt a careful hope that someone might actually see me, not only the smaller man I have become inside this marriage. As Dr. Olivia Harper walked away, I noticed Emily studying us. Her eyes narrowed in a way I could not pin down, but it set off that old warning in my gut. Morning light came through the pine trees when I headed to the small office for my individual session. Emily had been oddly supportive about it, which only made me more suspicious. "Go ahead," she had said over breakfast. "Maybe they can fix whatever is going on with you." The words had that familiar sting, but I was getting used to the burn. Dr. Harper met me at the door and waved me toward a comfortable armchair across from her desk. The room felt warm and human. Bookshelves held rows of psychology books. Large windows looked out over the mountains. There was no traditional therapist's couch, which eased me a little. "I appreciate you making time," I said as I sat her down. "I make time when I see someone ready for real change," she said, taking the chair opposite me. "Yesterday's exercises showed a few patterns I want to explore." For the next hour, we talked about my life before marriage. I told her about my confidence at work, the way I used to move through relationships with a steady hand, and the simple optimism I carried around like a pocket knife. Then we worked forward, step by step, through how that started to change. She took a few notes now and then, but mostly she kept eye contact. It felt exposed, but it also felt necessary. "When did you first notice yourself getting smaller in your marriage?" she asked. The word landed with a thud. "Smaller. That is exactly how it has felt," she said. "That is what emotional diminishment does. We shrink to make room for someone else's need for space or control." I walked her through the early years. I told her about the small critiques that sounded helpful at first, the jokes at my expense that I laughed off so I would seem easygoing, the way my circle of friends shrank because they were not, in Emily's words, good enough. Then she asked, carefully, "And the more intimate criticisms, when did those begin?" "About 2 years ago," I said, "right after I got a promotion at work." "My promotion, not hers." "Interesting timing," she said. "Success can trigger fear in partners who are invested in control." I had not thought about it that way. I had assumed she would be happy for me. "Sometimes what looks like contempt is really fear," she said. "Your success threatened the power balance she had set up." We went deeper. I described the bedroom criticisms, the public humiliations, the slow, organized way my confidence was taken apart. "What you are describing is emotional abuse," she said, calm and clear, like she was naming a color. "Men cannot be abused," I said, almost by reflex. I was repeating what I had heard my whole life. "That belief is exactly what keeps many men trapped," she said, her voice softening. "The psychological damage is no less real because you are a man." Something inside me cracked. I had not cried in front of another person since my father's funeral 8 years ago, but the tears came now, quiet, steady, and impossible to hold back. She waited and handed me tissues without saying a word. When I found my voice again, she leaned forward a little. "There is something about you I think you have forgotten," she said. "You have strong emotional intelligence and real resilience. You started this retreat. You walked into this office. That is not weakness." Her words felt like rain on dry ground. I could not remember the last time anyone framed me as capable. "What your wife calls inadequacy," she said, "I see as thoughtfulness. What she labels weakness, I recognize as empathy." She glanced at her notes. "I imagine your colleagues value these traits in your leadership." "How did you know I am in a leadership role?" I asked. "You mentioned your promotion," she said, "but it is also how you talk. You weigh different angles. That is rare and very useful." We ended with concrete tools. She gave me strategies for setting boundaries. She walked me through how to respond to public put-downs. She offered short phrases to interrupt nasty patterns. She gave me permission to treat my emotional health like it matters. "As we continue," she said as I stood, "I would like to observe some of your interactions during group work, if you are comfortable with that." "I would appreciate that," I said, surprised by how much lighter I felt after one session. "One more thing," she added. "The retreat has a strict confidentiality policy. What we discuss stays in this room unless you choose to share it." I nodded. That mattered, because I knew Emily would ask about every detail. Back at our cabin, Emily was waiting, shoulders tight. "Well," she said, stretching the word thin, How was your private therapy? The way she said private suggested something improper. It was helpful, I said, using one of my new tools. Keep it simple. Keep it calm. We identified some communication patterns to work on. Did she tell you that you are the problem? Emily asked. That seems to be her specialty with the husbands here. Her tone had an edge. Actually, I said, we focused on my reactions. It was not about you. That was not the whole truth, but it moved us past a fight. Emily's mouth tightened, but she did not press it. The group trust exercise starts in 20 minutes, she said at last. Try not to embarrass us. On the walk to the main hall, I replayed what Dr. Olivia Harper had said about strength and emotional intelligence. For the first time in years, I let myself consider a hard possibility. Maybe the problem was not that I was lacking. Maybe the relationship itself had become toxic. The thought scared me and set me free at the same time. It was like finding a door in a room I had thought had no exits. I did not know if I would step through, but knowing it was there changed the whole room. The afternoon exercise was built to bring out the raw stuff. Couples sat facing each other with a set of cards full of questions that got personal fast. The therapists had spaced us out so we could talk without everyone hearing, but you could still feel a charge in the room. Some couples held hands and leaned in. Some sat with a careful gap, like even their knees might start a fire if they touched. Emily and I crossed our legs on 2 meditation cushions. Our knees were close, but not touching. The therapists moved between pairs. When Dr. Harper drifted our way, Emily straightened up and turned on a warmer voice than she had used all day. Remember, Dr. Harper said to the whole room, this is not a performance. Do not say what you think your partner wants to hear. Say what is true, especially the words you have never said out loud. Emily gave a tight smile. We have always been honest, have we not? She said. I nodded, even though the irony landed like a stone. The first cards were easy enough. First impressions. Favorite shared memories. Times we were proud of each other. Emily shined when the questions made us look good, especially when Dr. Harper was close enough to catch the highlights. Then the cards turned heavier. Share something you feel shame about, I read. Something your partner may not fully understand. Emily went first. She talked about doubts at work, but the story circled back to her achievements in a way that looked vulnerable without revealing much. When it was my turn, I went quiet. I could feel the cards shake a little in my hand. I am ashamed of how much I changed, I said at last. I let myself get smaller in this relationship. Emily's eyes narrowed. What does that even mean? It means I used to trust my own judgment, I said. I used to feel solid about my choices and about myself. Now I second-guess everything. She scoffed. So I am to blame for your insecurity. I saw Dr. Harper stop a few steps away. She glanced down at her clipboard, but her attention was with us. I am not blaming you, I said. The question asked what I am ashamed of. I am ashamed that I have not stood up for myself when I should have. Stand up against what? Emily asked. Me supporting you? Me pushing you to be better? Her voice rose enough that nearby couples shifted in their seats. The next card asked about needs that had not been met. Emily picked it up like a baton. I need a partner who is not so fragile, she said, loud enough to carry. Someone who does not wilt at the smallest critique. Someone who acts like a man in every part of life. She ended with a look that made her meaning clear. Heat climbed my neck. A few couples nearby pretended not to listen and failed. Dr. Harper stepped closer. What I am hearing sounds more like criticism than a statement of your own needs, she said. Can you try stating what you genuinely need in your own terms? Emily gave a smile that never reached her eyes. I need physical and emotional strength from my partner. Is that better? Perhaps, Dr. Harper said. Strength shows up in many forms, including some that are not traditionally recognized. I could have backed away to safer ground. Instead, something steady rose in me. I need respect, I said. Not only in public, but in private too. I need to feel valued, not judged, and found lacking. Emily rolled her eyes. This is exactly. Please allow him to finish, Dr. Harper said, firm and level. I need to be seen as a whole person, I said, surprised at how even my voice sounded. Not a list of supposed flaws. And I needed to be understood that being a man is not measured by random standards or by physical traits. Dr. Harper nodded. That is a profound need, she said. To be accepted in your full humanity, rather than reduced to parts or performances. Emily's face flushed. So now you are taking his side? I thought therapists were supposed to be neutral. Helping a person express real needs is not taking sides, Dr. Harper said calmly. It is my job to make space for honest communication. The strain between them was obvious. Emily excused herself a few minutes later, said she had a headache and needed to lie down in our cabin. As the other couples kept working through the questions, Dr. Olivia Harper came over to me. That took courage, she said quietly. It did not feel like courage, I said. It felt like desperation. The two often travel together, she said. She checked her watch. We have an outdoor activity up next. If you would rather have some space to process, that is completely fine. I think I could use the distraction, I said. The group activity was a nature walk with a focus on mindfulness. Couples were kept apart on purpose so we could each walk in our own thoughts. At the trailhead, I watched Dr. Harper arrange the line. She placed me in her section and sent Emily with her colleagues. It looked casual, but it felt intentional. During the hike, Dr. Harper kept it professional, and still, some of her comments landed like they were meant for the place I was standing. We stopped at a lookout over the valley. Notice how much sharper everything looks, she said, when you are not trying to see it through someone else's expectations. After dinner, which Emily skipped, we ended with a guided meditation in the main hall. When people started drifting back to their cabins, Dr. Harper caught up to me in the lobby. How are you holding up? She asked. Her voice sounded professional, but there was real concern under it. Better than I expected, I said. Going back to the cabin feels like walking into a storm, though. Sometimes the most important growth happens in the eye of that storm, she said. She paused, then pulled out her phone. I do not usually do this with participants, but given how intense things have been for you. She opened a blank contact on her screen and handed me the phone. This is my professional number. If things escalate tonight, send me a message. Only for this week while you are under our care. I typed in my information. Our fingers brushed for a second. It was nothing more than an accident, but it felt significant anyway. She took her phone back and gave me a steady smile. Thank you, I said, and I meant more than just the number. You are doing important work here, she said. More than your wife gives you credit for. Neither of us noticed Emily in the dim hallway, watching. Her face hardened as she took in the exchange. The cabin was dark when I returned, except for a small lamp throwing light into the corner. Emily sat in the shadows, her posture rigid. Did you enjoy your private conversation with our therapist? She asked, her voice full of accusation. She was checking in after the exercise, I said, keeping my voice even like we practiced. Her job is to support people through difficult moments. Is exchanging phone numbers part of that support? She stood, folded her arms. Do not insult my intelligence. I saw you. The old version of me would have scrambled, apologized, tried to pour water on the fire. Instead, I set my water bottle on the table and met her eyes. She gave me her professional contact in case things get heated tonight, I said. Considering how you left the session, that seemed like a fair precaution. So, I am dangerous now? The villain in your sad little victim story? She let out a bitter laugh. You have charmed her with your wounded routine, have you not? I did not defend myself. I asked the question that had been building since my session. Why did you marry me if I disappoint you so much? She blinked, caught off guard. You were not like this before, she said at last, softer but still sharp. You were confident, ambitious. You took charge. Now you hesitate about everything. I wonder why that might be, I said quietly. She paced the small room, tension in every step. My father warned me that men change after marriage. He said you would show your true colors. Something clicked. Her father, domineering, loud, always putting her mother down in front of people. A man who never liked me, no matter how hard I tried to win him over. Is that what this is? I asked. You are afraid I will turn into your father unless you keep me on a short leash? Her expression told the truth before her mouth did. That is ridiculous, she said. You are twisting things to avoid responsibility. I am not avoiding anything, I said. I am trying to understand what happened to us. I motioned between us. We used to be a team. Now it feels like I am your project. A disappointing one. If you would just be more decisive, more assertive, more like your father, I said. She flinched like I had struck her. He and I are nothing alike. Aren't you? I asked, my voice low. The constant criticism, the public jabs, the need to control. For the first time in a long time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Not fear of me, fear of what my words revealed. She sank down onto the bed. The anger drained, and something more vulnerable took its place. "I do not want to be like him," Emily whispered. In that moment, a small spark of compassion lit up in me. I could see the little girl inside her, the one who watched her mother get worn down, the one who promised herself she would never end up there. It did not excuse what she had done, but it helped me see why she did it. "We both got lost in this," I said, sitting across from her. "You were so afraid of being controlled that you stepped into the role of the controller." A tear slid down her cheek. It was the first true emotion I had seen from her in months. For a heartbeat, I saw the woman I had fallen in love with, underneath all that armor. "Maybe this retreat was not a mistake," she said softly. "Maybe we needed to see what we turned into." We talked late into the night. We actually talked. No power plays. No defensive sparks. She admitted fears I had never guessed at, the kind that fueled her cruelty. I owned how my habit of avoiding conflict fed the whole toxic loop. It was not a full repair, but it felt like the first honest conversation we had held in years. Morning brought the toughest event of the retreat, the mirror exercise. Each pair sat facing each other in front of the group and named perceived strengths and weaknesses. Because of our late night, I went in with careful hope. Emily looked quieter than usual, but she showed up. When it was her turn to name my strengths, she surprised me. She spoke about my compassion and my integrity, and it sounded real. But when she moved to weaknesses, the old pattern slid back in. "You need to be more assertive in all areas," she said, with a pointed look that made her meaning plain to everyone. Despite our talk the night before, she could not resist the chance to make a public note of my supposed shortcomings. I noticed Dr. Olivia Harper watching closely. Her face stayed professionally calm, but her eyes said there was more going on. When my turn came, I kept my focus on how we communicate instead of taking swings. Dr. Harper gave me a small nod that felt like approval. After the session, we broke for lunch. Emily drifted toward a group heading to the dining hall. I stayed back and stacked chairs. As the room emptied, Dr. Harper walked over. "That was handled professionally," she said, "especially with everything that has been happening." "We had a breakthrough last night," I said. "It did not fully carry into the exercise." "Real change takes time," she said. "One conversation does not erase old grooves." She paused, then added, "Sometimes what looks like progress is really a tactical retreat." Her words hit a place I had not been able to name. Part of me wondered if last night's softness might have been a move, not a change. "I have time this afternoon for another individual session if you want to talk more," she said. "I would appreciate that," I said. I meant it. She checked her tablet and made a few quick notes. Then she looked up, and for a breath her expression crossed a line from strictly professional to something warmer. "You know," she began. In another context, she stopped. She did not need to finish. The unsaid part hung between us. "I should go meet Emily," I said, though I did not hurry to leave. "Of course," she said, tucking the tablet under her arm. "Oh, and I did not get your number last night. For my records. Strictly professional." I recited my number. I watched her type it into her phone. It felt like we were doing a careful dance around a subject neither of us was ready to name. When she looked up again, her professional mask was back in place, but her eyes suggested that whatever was growing between us did not fit neatly inside the therapist and client box. 3 o'clock, she said, confirming the time with a small smile that carried many meanings. I headed toward the dining hall with my thoughts running in every direction. For the first time in years, I felt seen and valued. Not as a problem to fix, but as a person worth respect. The fact that this recognition came from someone other than my wife was both unsettling and thrilling. The afternoon session with Dr. Harper never happened. As I neared her office, Emily stepped into the hallway and took my arm with a burst of affection I did not expect. "There you are," she said. "I have been looking everywhere. The hiking group leaves in 10 minutes. I thought we could join together." After the tension that morning, her cheer felt jarring. "I actually have an individual session scheduled," I said. "Cancel it," she said, tightening her grip. "This retreat is about us reconnecting, not you spending more time alone with the therapist." The way she leaned on the word alone made the message clear. Before I could say a word, Dr. Harper came out of her office. She took in the scene with one quick, sharp look. "Is everything all right, Dr.?" Olivia Harper asked. Her voice was professional, but the concern in her eyes gave her away. Emily's smile was tight and glossy. "Perfectly fine. I was just telling my husband we should join the hiking group together. She turned to me. Is that not right, dear? The word dear sounded strange after months of cool distance. I looked from Emily to Dr. Harper and felt the push and pull between them. This was supposed to be about a walk, but it was not about a walk at all. We did set a time for a session, Dr. Harper reminded me gently. But it is entirely your choice. Emily's fingers pressed into my arm. The session can wait. Some fresh air will do us both good. There was a controlled kind of urgency under her calm face. I gave in. Let us reschedule for tomorrow, I said to Dr. Harper. She nodded, expression carefully neutral. Of course. My door is open if you need anything. The look we exchanged carried more than the words did, and Emily noticed. Her smile narrowed another notch. The trail was beautiful and tense. Emily kept a hand on me almost the whole time, holding my hand on the easy parts, gripping my arm when the ground tilted up, making sure our closeness read clearly to anyone watching. Her conversations sounded rehearsed, full of inside jokes and sweet memories offered loud enough for nearby couples to hear. Remember our honeymoon hike in Colorado? She asked at a lookout point. You were so attentive, always making sure I had water, taking all those photos of me at the tops. I did remember. I also remembered how she later called most of those photos unflattering and tossed them out. When the others drifted away to enjoy the view, she pulled me aside. The cheerful mask slipped. What is going on between you and her? She whispered, harsh and sharp. Nothing inappropriate, I said, and it was the truth. Do not lie to me, she said. I see how she looks at you. I see how fast you sign up for sessions. Her fingers bit into my wrist. You are making us look ridiculous. I am not the one putting on a show, I said, keeping my voice even as I eased my arm free. And I am not lying. She has been professional, and she has been supportive. She wants you, Emily hissed. It is obvious. And you are eating it up. The attention, the validation. She gave a cold little laugh. Does it make you feel more like a man to have her fuss over you? The irony hit me. Emily had chipped away at my confidence for years, and now she was furious that someone else might be helping me rebuild it. This is not about her, I said quietly. This is about us. About how we treat each other. So this is my fault, she shot back. I push you to be better, and instead of stepping up, you run to someone who will stroke your ego. In the past, I would have folded and apologized. This time I held my ground. No one is stroking anything. For the first time in years, I am being treated with basic respect. The fact that it feels strange says a lot. Color rose in her face. Anger, shame, maybe both. Before she could answer, another couple wandered over and commented on the view. Emily flipped the switch instantly, leaned into me, friendly and bright, talking to them like we were the picture of ease. The rest of the hike kept that rhythm. Public warmth, private accusations. By the time we reached the lodge, a heavy tiredness settled over me. Dinner was a big group meal in the main hall. Emily left early, said she had a headache. I finished my coffee alone. That was when Dr. Harper slipped into the chair across from me. Your wife seemed upset during the hike, she said. She feels threatened, I said. Threatened by me in particular, she said, thinking it through. How do you feel about that? Confused, I said. Pulled in two directions. I stared into the bottom of my cup. Part of me is relieved someone finally sees what has been happening, I said. Another part feels guilty, like I am betraying her by even talking about it. That is common after long-term emotional manipulation, Dr. Olivia Harper said gently. The guilt does not belong to you, but people who manipulate are skilled at making you carry it. We drifted to safer topics beyond the retreat. Work, books, weekend routines. We did not talk about anything charged, yet our views lined up in quiet ways. For about 20 minutes, I felt what simple, respectful conversation is supposed to feel like. No eggshells, no bracing for the next jab. As we stood to leave the dining hall, she set her hand lightly on mine. About tomorrow's rescheduled session. Yes, I said. I will be there. Actually, she said, I want to suggest we meet off-site. There is a coffee shop in town, about 15 minutes away. Sometimes a change of setting helps people speak more freely outside the retreat. The invitation sat in a space that felt both professional and personal, a thin line that could be read either way. That sounds helpful, I said carefully. What time? I have a break at 11 o'clock, she said. I can send you the address. Her eyes met mine, and the message was plain even without words. Before I could answer, a voice cut in behind us. "Texting patients now," Emily said. "Is that standard practice for therapists these days?" She stood with her arms locked across her chest, headache gone. Dr. Harper stayed composed. "As I mentioned during orientation, we use multiple ways to reach participants who need support between sessions." "How thoughtful," Emily said, acid sharp. "Do all participants receive that kind of personal attention, or just the attractive ones?" Dr. Harper rose smoothly. "I will leave you two to talk. Remember, tomorrow's group session begins at 9 o'clock. As she walked away, Emily turned the full heat on me. "This is humiliating. Everyone can see what is going on." Something inside me finally split, the dam of patience and avoidance I had used to keep the peace. "What exactly is going on?" I asked, voice calm but firm. "A professional is treating me with basic respect and dignity. Somehow that threatens you." "She is flirting with you," Emily hissed. "It is completely inappropriate." "Maybe she is," I said. "But the bigger point is what it shows me. That plain kindness and interest feels so strange to me now that I barely recognize them." Her face flickered, then hardened. "So this is my fault. I am the villain because I do not shower you with empty compliments." "No," I said quietly. "You are not a villain. You are a hurt person who hurt me back. But I cannot keep paying for what happened before we ever met." The dining hall had emptied, leaving our words hanging in the wide, echoing room. "What are you saying?" she demanded. "I am saying I deserve more than constant criticism and public put-downs," I said. "If our marriage cannot offer that, then maybe the marriage has reached its end." Her face went pale. "You would leave me for her." "This is not about her," I said, and I knew it was true as I spoke it. "It is about finally seeing what I have allowed and deciding it stops now." I turned and walked out, not to Dr. Harper's office, but to our cabin. I started to pack. Whatever came next, repair or goodbye, would happen on different terms. The balance had shifted, not because another woman noticed me, but because I finally noticed my own worth. At the cabin door, my phone buzzed. A message lit the screen with Dr. Harper's name. "Whatever you decide, remember this. Your worth is not measured by anyone else's opinion of you." I smiled at the strange truth that someone I barely knew could see what my partner of 7 years had missed. Real manhood, I realized, has nothing to do with dominance or with physical traits. It has everything to do with integrity, compassion, and self-respect, qualities I was finally taking back, one hard conversation at a time.